and welcome to the Doofcast, a film and TV podcast from Doof Media. My name is Scott Daly, and I'm joined, as always, by Matt Freeman. I don't have a joke today.
I'm a black void shaped like Matt Freeman, actually. Sorry, you caught me on a bad day, Scott. And now bye.
Okay, Bob. This week on the show, well, we don't have like a big main segment to talk about. What we're doing this week is actually we had a whole bunch of so occasionally, as people that listen to the show regularly know, we usually do like one main review or a thing, and then we have like a second segment, like a mini segment to close the show. Well, I think over time, Matt, we collect these mini segments and we can't use them all. But occasionally we just dump them all into one show. Yeah. And we call it like a potpourri show.
Yeah.
And so that's what today's episode is. We're going to talk about a few things that I've wanted to talk about and you've wanted to talk about for the last little bit. And now we're going to do it. And also, at the very end of the show, we're going to announce what our next big project is, a project that we're going to need our listeners, especially our patrons, help on. So stay tuned for that.
Right. Just reminding everyone that we wrapped up Paul Thomas Anderson last week. That's kind of why we're doing this bridge episode to the next thing. And at the end of this episode, we'll be telling you what the next thing is. So yeah.
Yeah, but I actually don't know how long it's going to take to gather the. We'll talk about it. Hold on. We'll talk about it. Let's focus on the task at hand first, which is the things we're going to talk about this week are the Thunderbolts, the new Avengers. Oh, spoilers. Shit. Sorry.
Oh, no.
And then we're going to talk about how theaters are dying and the theatrical model might just be irreparably broken. So really positive, shiny, happy stuff. And then we're going to talk about episode 6 of Alien Earth, The Fly. Again, some really happy, exciting, shiny stuff.
Yep.
And then we're going to wrap up with our new project. So that's the episode. And maybe, I don't know, it's a potpourri episode, Matt. Maybe we'll throw a few things in there, a few exciting things. Did you know that criticism is dying?
Yes.
Isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
All right, Matt, let's just start off with Thunderbolts. So the reason I wanted to talk to you about this movie is because I finally saw it. It hit Disney Plus, I think a couple weeks ago, maybe. And as you know, I only watch Marvel movies on Disney Plus or with you. Those are the two places.
Right.
So I finally watched the movie and I wanted to talk about it. And the reason I wanted to talk about it is because as the resident Marvel hater, by the way, I don't know when this happened, when we switched roles.
Yeah, that's so strange, right?
Yeah. But we're here now. And as the resident Marvel hater, I definitely wanted to talk about this movie because I liked it. I thought it was pretty good, actually. Not good enough to do a whole episode on, but maybe a doofpuri.
Yeah,
right.
A little bit of doofpuri, and I had seen it too. It's funny.
Did you go to the theater?
No, it's funny. I'll probably bring this up again when we talk about the death of cinema later. But I, it was a weekend evening, and I wanted to watch something with my kids, and I saw that you could purchase it on the Amazon or whatever. And I was looking at it, I'm like, the price of buying this movie now and watching it with my kids is substantially lower than going out to the theater with all three kids would have been, the previous weekend. Yeah. So I just did that. And then we all watched it together and we all enjoyed it and I enjoyed it. And it not just enjoyed, it rekindled a sort of feeling of oh, this is fun. I'm into this. I'm excited about the next time I see these characters type of feeling that I haven't felt in several years now.
Sure.
So that was a big, I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think it was just a good movie. And then also I think Florence Pugh just is the star they've been looking for, actually.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And that all came together, and the movie is just really fun and good. It has a strong theme and it has a strong message, and it leaves you with a meaningful emotional crescendo that was surprisingly poignant to me, and it's actually funny, not just like perfunctorily like quippy or like self-aware. Like the humor is not like self-awareness jokes, it's like situational jokes from the characters. So I don't know, it's just like, oh wow, they remembered how to make a good movie. That's great.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said. Like, I think it's really fascinating to me, that the Marvel movie that came out this year that required no homework, no exterior knowledge, nothing, that is everything I've been asking for in these Marvel movies, I did not like. But the Marvel movie that almost specifically requires you to watch like 27 television shows
Uh-huh.
was the one I was like, yeah, I'm into this. Like, honestly, man, I didn't remember who half these characters were. Like I of course knew Florence Pugh's character. I watched the Black Widow movie, so I knew her. I also remembered her from, I think it was the Hawkeye television show. She was on that one as well.
See, this is what's funny. Okay, so we can go through this, but I didn't watch a single moment of the Hawkeye TV show. And I gave up halfway through the Captain America and Bucky TV show.
Yeah, which is what has Walker,
yeah,
the dollar store Captain America in it.
right.
I don't remember where the Ghost character came from at all. I had no idea who that person was.
I think so. So, and I think she was in like literally the one actual mainline Marvel movie I never watched, which is like the Ant-Man.
Oh,
whatever.
That's the Ant-Man lady. Okay, yeah, gotcha. And the one that died, I guess spoilers for this movie, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if we can have this conversation with it. So the one that died in the vault, I had no idea who that was, and I wasn't even quite sure if I was supposed to have any idea who that person was.
Well, I can. So that's. Did you see Black Widow?
Yes.
Yeah. So she was Taskmaster, who is like the enemy villain in that, or basically what Taskmaster is it's like this girl that Black Widow like blew up when she was a girl and then felt guilty about for her whole life, and she was all scarred, and the evil Red Room guy like rebuilt her into a possibly cybernetic, it's unclear, at least like highly trained killer, and she was never really a character. Even in that movie, she was almost like an automaton in that movie. And then in this movie, I think she might have been in the Hawkeye show. I didn't see that, so I don't know. Dude. And then in this movie, they were like, "We're just not going to deal with this character."
I know I watched both of those things. I have no memory of that whatsoever.
There's like one cool thing about her character, which is she does combat things from the other characters in the franchise. Which is cool for like 1 second. Like she does the cool knife flippy flip thing that Bucky does.
Okay, I vaguely remember that. Yes.
Yeah, that's all. She copies other people's jutsus and uses them.
Okay.
So
she's dead.
She's dead.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's funny. We're kind of we're being funny mentioning all these things because the great thing is it doesn't matter. Like it.
Yeah, that was the point that I was eventually going to get to was
right.
Yeah, that I've seen all these things. You could say that this is required homework, but ultimately it's just not. I think the movie does a very good job of getting you to understand. What is Florence Pugh's character's name? I don't know. I don't care.
Yelena, I think, or
Yelena. Yeah. Like the movie does a very good job of getting you to understand without having to specifically remember a lot of it, like what her deal is and why she's so sad and everything. And so like you're just kind of in from that moment, and then Bob shows up, and then Bob actually gets like you said, the coolest thing about this movie is it's about something, like actually really about something. It's about like it kind of just about depression and how it can consume you.
Right.
And it's about people bonding together to help each other out of those moments. And like I was just like, holy shit, they're doing things in this movie. and
Yeah.
I was just so into it, and everyone's clearly having a great time. Like, I think one thing you said to me when we were talking about this right after I watched it was like the humor in this movie is not dissimilar to like the types of humor they do in the MCU, but for these characters, for whatever reason, it just worked way
Yeah.
better for me.
Yeah. Well, so a lot of the humor is like okay, so the scene when Yelena goes to talk to her dad in his apartment.
Which, by the way, David Harbour is like chewing the scenery.
He's
He is having so much fun
right.
making this
Right.
movie.
Like that whole sequence is just like it's just good comedy. Like there's no, it doesn't feel Marvel to me. It just felt like this is a well-written comedy scene. Like the back and forth, the repartee, the moment where, you know, he's playing off like his life is going so well, and then she mentions that she could get him connected with the CIA, and he's like, "Of course I was lying. My life is terrible." And it's great. Like so there's like actual good comedy, and then when there is quippiness, it's like, well, the quippiness is in a context of a bunch of characters who are kind of shitty people who are, they have a kind of like meanness behind the quips that is more funny than if it's like,
Yeah.
I think part of it is literally just like you never really buy like Captain America and like Hawkeye doing these quips. It's like, why would you say that? You're Captain America, you know? Whereas these characters, you just can believe that they would talk that way. I think is part of it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it's fun. It's funny. I really was into all these characters. I think some of them work better than others. I still kind of think the Ghost character, I don't know, she's all right. She feels superfluous. I can talk
Yeah.
in a way that some of the other characters don't, for whatever reason. I don't know. It just feels like they didn't know necessarily what to do with her.
I think you're 100% right. I mean, everybody else, like Bucky has a whole interesting thing where he's been elected to Congress, but doesn't enjoy it, which is great. You know, the Dollar Store Captain America is in some ways like the most interesting character in the movie because he's this flawed man who is like deeply struggling, obviously. But okay, so part of this, I'll admit, I saw this YouTube video. I think it was a YouTube video that was like, John Walker is a great Captain America or something, and it was just like basically a clip show of all of the times that he like demonstrated leadership, tactical acumen, decisiveness, self-sacrificial qualities, thinking of the needs of others, and like and the movie's actually very cool because that stuff is all throughout the movie. It's just like layered on top of that is just that he's so hurt and angry that he's always lashing out at people and acting like a dick, but then like making correct calls and helping people and like putting himself in danger to help people.
No, great point. Yeah, I like that a lot.
So and that's just, by the way, while we're just mentioning stuff like that, there's a sequence in this movie where the characters, the superheroes, save a bunch of innocent people, which it's been a long time since that was in a superhero movie other than the Superman movie that we you know probably going to talk about in a bit. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I mean, it's interesting. These are like, none of these people have like particularly great powers. Like that's part of the joke of the movie, actually, is that Bob is essentially Superman.
Yeah.
And these are street level heroes that can't do much of anything.
Yeah.
So it's like it works in that way that it's like self-aware, but not in the it's not in the typical Marvel way where it's like, isn't this so ridiculous? Like it's not the Hawkeye saying, I have a bow and arrow, none of this makes sense level of aware. It's just like it's having fun with itself. In a very specific kind of way, but still ultimately taking itself very seriously. Like,
yes, exactly. I think the only, it's funny, the only joke that I felt was sort of at the expense of the character, I still liked, because it was like actually funny. Which was after they go through like the nightmare rooms where they're haunted by the specters of their pasts and confronted with the worst thing they've ever done and their greatest regrets. They all sort of come together having gone through that. And Bucky goes, I have a great past, so I'm totally fine. And like that's it. And like we just move on from it. We don't like make a big deal. But it's just like it's very funny, because you know that like his whole thing is being burdened by all this regret and all these terrible
a brainwashed soldier
Yeah.
murdering people for decades. Yeah.
And it doesn't, again, it doesn't call attention to itself. It's like, I don't know. I was like, that's great. It's very slightly making you feel like, oh, we're kind of making fun of the concept of the self-important, suffering, long-suffering super soldier character. And I think that's okay, because that's kind of who Bucky is anyway. So anyway, I don't want to drill it. I basically killed the joke at this point, but it's just like, even when they did the thing that felt a little bit more typical, I think they just kind of earned it more, or maybe just pulled it off with a little bit more finesse. And
Sure.
I thought it was good.
I loved Bucky in this movie. Like I thought he was great. I love him as, he's a congressman now. He's officially part of the system, and yet he doesn't know how to function in that world.
Mhm.
And so he finds himself kind of just like falling back into his vigilante tendencies. And I really liked it.
Yeah.
I know he was in Captain America Brave New World briefly. I think he was running for office in that movie, and then this movie we get to see he's elected to office. I like him so much better here. I don't know if we ever talked about Captain America Brave New World on this year's show.
I never saw it, so I'm sure we didn't. But
that is a giant piece of doo-doo movie. It's really bad. And I feel bad, because I like Anthony Mackie, and I like Anthony Mackie's character in the MCU, but I just think the writing has never done him justice ever. It was such a fucking mess of a movie. It was really bad.
Yeah. I will say one of the funniest jokes in this movie was them saying that he was suing them for over the name The Avengers.
It works perfectly, because you could totally see that as something that Sam Wilson would do.
Right. And it's kind of a meta comment on the whole idea of what we're doing here with the MCU. But and worked in universe, obviously.
I do have to say, I think the one thing in this movie that just did not work for me at all is I am just kind of tired of Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character. And I don't get me wrong, I love Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I do. I don't care about Valentina, and I don't want any more Valentina ever.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I don't. It's a weird. It's like she developed this character, and it is a sort of. I think it's just there's a lot of problems where it's just like I don't believe this character.
She doesn't feel like a real person. Like she doesn't feel like a person in this world. She feels like a cartoon character.
Yeah,
and like that's something, because a lot of these characters are very silly and over the top, but she's silly and over the top in a different kind of way.
Yeah. I mean, she's definitely bringing a comedy sensibility to the movie. And then when she has to change gears and do the more serious scenes, like, for example, when she's sort of manipulating Bob, I don't know that I buy the transition.
Yeah.
It feels a little awkward. I feel like I almost feel like this character was meant to be like a one-off in whatever movie she first appeared in, and they were like, "Oh, wouldn't it be funny if we had Julia Louis-Dreyfus for this?" And then it worked in whatever scope she originally joined the franchise, and then they were like, "Oh yeah," and then you're going to be a super important villain for this movie, and it's like I don't know that character works here.
And we still can't be done with it yet, because she's still technically like the head of the new Avengers or whatever.
Right.
I hope Doctor Doom like explodes her and we just move on.
Yeah, just opening scene. Yeah, it's great. I want to just talk for a second more about Bob, if that's okay. Just
Yeah, no, do it.
yeah.
This is, by the way, played by Lewis Pullman, who is Bill Pullman, aka the President of the United States in the greatest movie of all time, his son.
Okay, cool.
No, I mean like
yeah.
Independence Day, Bill Pullman. Like
Gotcha.
this is his kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I just thought it was a great concept. I didn't know anything about this character, so this is the one thing where I would even go so far as to say, if you have no idea about Bob or this movie, and you kind of want to watch this movie, then skip ahead like 5 minutes and don't listen to this part because it was actually kind of cool, and I'm kind of glad I wasn't spoiled on it because the gimmick is like you meet this guy and he just you have no idea who he is. He's not presenting as a hero of any kind, and over the course of the movie you realize like he has these two sides, and basically it's basically about manic depression, like yes, depression, but I think also like manic depression, because he has a side to himself where he is basically Superman, like you said. And when he is in that state, he's like psychologically almost like grandiose and delusional in the direction of just like, I'm awesome. Why should I have to listen to anyone? I'm the shit,
Mm-hmm.
And he beats up all of his friends, which is not a thing that like normal Bob would do. And then he has a depression side where he just feels complete emptiness and nihilistic, hopelessness for everything. And this is basically the villain of the movie. Effectively, it starts consuming everyone and pulling them into his darkness. And I love this because Superman is Superman. Superman is his own thing. But typically, I feel like if you are going to have a incredibly powerful character, you need to do something interesting to like offset that and keep it dynamic. And I think it's a very fun idea that like they have this person on their team who in some circumstances is like Superman and in other circumstances is a huge liability,
Mm-hmm.
and most of the time is just a dude actually. And like that just immediately struck me as a huge potential for like character growth and drama and narrative interesting choices you could make
Yeah.
in future movies. I mean, in this one, I think it's quite interesting, but you could just like keep this concept going in future movies and get a lot out of it. And I was really kind of hooked by this already.
It's so funny because I loved it in this movie, but I am also like just dreading exactly what you're talking about in future stuff. That is, by the way, one of the effects of this movie had on me was just like making me like really feel like I am just kind of out on this whole thing.
Interesting.
Like I just like I mean like everything that I thought was cool about it, I'm just like they're gonna ruin it in the next thing. Like you're like obviously you're correct that Century / Void is going to be something that shows up in future iterations of the MCU, maybe even just in the next Avengers. Sure. And they're gonna do that thing, but I think they're gonna do it in a way that is shallow and doesn't have time for it because there's also going to be 5,000 other heroes and villains they have to work in. And like, but like related to this was the stinger at the end of this episode, or at the end of this movie, the post-credit stinger, which has the Fantastic Four arrive in a spaceship essentially, which slots this, I guess, technically occurring after the events of the Fantastic Four movie. I
Seems
guess.
like it. Sure.
I just got like really sad the second I saw that. Cause it's like I did not like the Fantastic Four movie very much at all. But one of the things that we talked about in that was like how much I'm just dreading dumping those characters in this world. And it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna do that. Like here's what I think. I think the idea of this kind of fun marketing thing they did with this movie, which is they called it Thunderbolts, but they put an asterisk on it. And then after the first weekend, they revealed that the name of the film is actually The New Avengers. I think that's a fun thing. It's a fun idea. It's fun and functional in this movie. But that's it. Like, I don't think any of it works in a larger MCU experiment project of, okay, these are the Avengers now. I don't think that works or actually functions in any way. And the idea of making it not just like a fun thing for this particular story they wanted to tell, but a fun thing that is also going to affect this larger universe of storytelling just kind of bummed me out.
I mean, I definitely see where you're coming from, although that was far from being my reaction. I think I think it. So I'll go back to what I said a minute ago, which was that the movie rekindled my actually wanting to see the next movie feeling, which I haven't felt in so long.
Yeah.
Like, because for so long it's just felt like this, like, part of it is that we were wrapping up all these characters, like Thor, for example, or it felt like we were wrapping them up. Although I suppose
he's the main character of Doomsday, so
yeah, he's still gonna exactly right. Like this feeling of like we're plodding along with these characters, and there's no sense of like, oh, I'm interested to see where that character is going, which is kind of what drove us with like Iron Man in particular, and to an extent Captain America. And for me, Thor actually after Ragnarok, or like with Ragnarok anyway, I was like, I want to see what happens next. I want to see what happens next with the Thunderbolts. Like I'm into most of them, and I want to see what happens next. Now, I totally grant your statement that like it's foolish to imagine that they're going to give all of these characters the healthy level of individual development that they all deserve on an individual basis in some giant smashing action figures together ensemble movie. That's just true. I mean, it's probably gonna. I'm really somewhat concerned that like Doomsday is going to feel like Endgame, and you say, but Matt, you liked Endgame, and what I mean by that is like I liked Endgame because it was a nice conclusion that delivered on the promises of Infinity War, but also it was just smashing action figures together in a lot of places, and very there were a lot of threads that just felt kind of perfunctory. And it's like it's like the scene where you see Quill interact with Gamora clone for like 2 seconds, and it's like there's no real emotion there. It's just like there's too much stuff happening, I guess is what I mean. Yes. And that's probably what they're going to do with it. And I really hope they don't. Like, I don't know. It's pointless to say, but I want more movies like this. I want more movies where it's like, relatively tightly scoped to a certain set of characters, and we do this specific thing, and we don't need to do the big thing.
Yeah. I guess I should clarify. Like, I will absolutely go to the theater to see Thunderbolts 2 or whatever the hell they call it. The new Avengers, whatever. I am in on that 100%. Absolutely. I have no interest in seeing how these characters mix in the larger MCU project, because I just don't think they're going to mix well, which is not a critique of the characters themselves. Like, as we said, I really, really like these characters. I think they really work. It's just, I think they work in this actually deceptively small character story that is this movie. And I don't think they're going to function well in the smashing of toys together thing that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in seeing them in that. I mean, I cannot stress how out on Doomsday I am. Like, I think it's going to be a disaster. I think it'll make a lot of money. I do. But I think as a piece of art and storytelling, I think it is going to be a disaster. We'll see. I would love to be proven wrong about this, but I don't think so.
Well, I feel like I've said my piece on Thunderbolts, and what you just said seems like a nice segue into talking about the theatrical model.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. I think we did not mean to talk about Thunderbolts for as long as we did, but hey, when a Marvel movie's good, it gets
Yeah.
you a little excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Matt, the theaters, they're not doing good. They're not doing good at all. So I don't know if you remember this, but like last year was not a good year at the box office, and the mantra for the theaters was survive till 25.
Okay.
So that's not going great so far.
Okay.
2025 not doing great. They had some strong stuff, some stuff that surprised, but like I think a good example of this is there was only one film that broke $1 billion this summer, which was Lilo and Stitch, the live action remake of a Disney cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
That's
And there's $2 billion movies total because the Minecraft movie, I'm pretty sure, also made $1 billion, but that came out in the spring. So, oh, actually, it didn't. It's just under. It's 957. So there has been only $1 billion film this year.
Okay.
Which is lower than it used to be.
So
it is also the first year that a comic book movie has not grossed over $700 million since 2011, I believe.
Jeez.
And look, part of this is just there's so much competition for entertainment that going to the movie theater is just not what it once was. I do think, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, I do think we have just, and by we I mean studios, have just taught people that they don't really need to go to the movies anymore.
Yeah.
One example of this, the primary example that's going to kind of drive this conversation is Superman hit streaming 30 days after it started its theatrical run. 30 days later, you could buy it VOD on Amazon, Apple, whatever. And like, while I think it's true economically that the majority of people that wanted to see the Superman movie in theaters had probably seen it by that point, I still think the unintended result of this is people just know they can wait. Like waiting, like when it was months, right? When it was like when it's like, if I don't catch this movie in a theater, I'm not going to be able to see it until next year. Because it's not going to, their disc isn't going to be out until 6 months, 8 months down the road. Then it's like, oh, I have to prioritize the theater.
Yeah.
A 30-day proposition is easy.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll do that.
There's
no big deal.
Not only that, but just to state the obvious, I mean, even when I was in high school, we had a TV that was like, like 1/5 the size of my TV, and it was a CRT that was like fuzzy with like its own built-in sound system instead of a separate like sound bar or whatever. And now you can basically get a much better, much bigger TV and a separate sound system for cheaper than you could afford a giant ass CRT in the 90s and 2000s and whatever. So like, not only do you not have to wait, but as soon as it comes on streaming, you're basically getting a similar experience, and in some regards a better experience, because you can pause it, you can go make yourself some popcorn, you can put up your feet on your cozy comfy couch with your blankets, and you don't have to go to the goddamn theater. So there's a lot of reasons here. I think we could just keep adding the reasons, but I think I don't even know that we need to add any more. I think these are the fundamental ones.
Yeah. And to be clear, like, I think movie theaters are the best way to see movies. Like, it just hands down, I just think it's the truth. Just especially in the world we live in where we are constantly distracted. Like, yes, you are correct that being able to pause the movie, being able to sit in the comfort of your own home is an advantage, but also being able to exist in a world that you are not pummeled by distractions is an advantage of going to the movie theater. That you could just go into a room, turn everything off, get away from everything for a certain amount of time, sit in this dark room with excellent sound, excellent picture, and just enjoy the experience, the collective experience of watching a movie is the way it should be done. And like it does sadden me that is going away. And like, look, it's really interesting because we live in this world where I don't want to say that like movies are not doing well, because there still are movies like this year. The movie Sinners is the fifth highest grossing domestic movie of all time, or it's not of all time, of the year. It's a tiny rated R movie made by Ryan Coogler. It's great. It's very good. It made $366 million worldwide, which is huge for this movie. And we have things like Weapons, which is a small horror film that's doing very well. I think Final Destination, the new Final Destination movie, made 300 million worldwide, which is like huge for it. So like there are exceptions and movies that are breaking through and things like that. But like the whole model of the system was that we would have these massive tent poles that would hold up the rest of the industry, that you could release this big movie. It was going to make $1.5 billion, and everything would be okay because we're all supported by this. And the smaller movies, some of them hit, some of them don't, and it's okay because we have all this stuff. And then we have movies like Superman, which made 614 million worldwide, which like is not bad, but that's less than Man of Steel made. And tickets are double the price, and not even counting inflation. So it's like people are either just checked out of these big movies, you know, with the exception of Lilo and Stitch, or just the idea that this is not an event thing for me anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I haven't brushed up on my history recently, but I feel like the idea of everything having to be based around event filmmaking is in fact a historically recent phenomenon that probably never was like sustainable in perpetuity. Like I'm just going to read you a few top grossing films from a few years. Okay. Let's see. Kramer versus Kramer, 1979. Back to the Future, 1985. Rain Man, 1988. Home Alone, 1990. Aladdin, 1992.
But okay, these are huge movies.
These are, yeah. Well, okay, but they weren't designed to be huge movies. It wasn't like they made Rain Man. They were like, this movie is going to prop up American cinema for the year of 1988. It was it has Tom Cruise in it, it has Tom Cruise in it, and it has the other guy. Okay, let me make so we'll drill down on that. Okay, Dustin Hoffman. So drilling down on it, the budget of that movie is $25 million. The box office of that million is $400 million. So they didn't they didn't design it to be the number one hit movie of the year. They just designed it to be a good movie. Like that's how they thought about movies back then. They just made good movies for a reasonable budget. $25 million in 1988 is what? In 2025 is calculating. Give me a.
Why is this taking so long?
Give me a second, because I typed in the wrong thing. It's about. Okay, I don't trust this calculator, but it says it's about $70 million, which is still way lower than the budget of like Thunderbolts, right? It's like less than half the budget of Thunderbolts, which Thunderbolts is definitely not going to be the top grossing movie of the year. So I'm repeating myself and going in a circle here. The point is, like, I don't think it was ever a good idea to do this thing where it's like, we're going to make a big event movie that everybody has to see, and that's the only way we can. It's like, no, just like make a bunch of good movies and make them cheaply. I've been saying this for a while, and I know it's annoying when I repeat myself, but I'm just like, it seems obvious to me. I don't understand why it isn't. And that's basically what Sinners is, right? It's like, they just made a good movie on a reasonable budget, and then it's going to make a ton of money. So just like,
but Sinners is not going to save the industry as a whole. Like yes, I mean, first of all, I think the economy of filmmaking is just entirely different today than it was in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Like, especially in the 90s, like the industry subsisted off of home video sales. Like, it was okay if your movie didn't do like huge at the box office because you were going to have a tail end of selling DVDs and VHS tapes, and
Mhm.
that propped up the industry for a very long time. That is completely gone now. That basically doesn't exist anymore. Um, and I completely agree with you that the budgets of these films have gotten out of control. I mean, they exist in a world in which like even a so-so Marvel movie is making $1.5 billion, and so the proposition of spending $250 million on these movies is like, yeah, we can do that if we got a surefire $1 billion film on our hands, and then suddenly very quickly we just stopped having a surefire $1 billion movie on our hands. Like, I mean, like just
Yeah.
look at the Marvel movies that made $1 billion. It's just like just every single one of them was doing it. It didn't matter what they put out. Like, again, the Captain Marvel movie, which is ultimately not a great movie, made $1 billion. It's just like they couldn't lose, and so everyone's operating under the same economic policy that has suddenly and dramatically shifted, and they're just not sure what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with you. Like, the idea of spend a little bit, risk less, and then failures don't hurt as bad and successes are huge successes is, it feels to me like a winning model.
Yeah.
But I think there's so much money tied up in these things, that I think like seeing that change actually like happen, that ship steer a different way, I don't know if that's going to happen in time, to stop any of these trends.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to say. I wonder, like, what's more mysterious: the fact that Captain Marvel made $1 billion, or the fact that everyone stopped going to see movies like that abruptly. Like, I know COVID happened, so I'm not, literally
Yeah.
stupid. But like, is it just all COVID? Okay, let me ask that in a more straightforward way. If COVID hadn't happened, would Thunderbolts have made $1.5 billion? Would that be the world that we're in?
I don't think so. I mean, like, I think COVID is a big part of it. Yeah. I also think like, I don't know this thing. And once again, I'm taking my experiencing and extrapolating it out to be a universal experience, which is never a good idea, but I'm going to do it anyway. For some reason that I can't fully comprehend, and I still haven't fully parsed in myself, we did the Endgame thing, and I loved Endgame. I loved it to death. It was great. We did. I think the Spider-Man No Way Home movie came out after Endgame. I think you and I really, really enjoyed that movie, and then like I just stopped caring
Mhm.
about any of this.
Yeah.
Like, I just like overnight, and like, again, I also had a child not long after that. COVID happened. I had a kid. Like, my life pretty dramatically changed in just how I exist and live day to day. And so maybe it's just that. But maybe it was also just, we did this thing that was building, 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 building. It finally ended, and everyone was just like, okay. Like,
Yeah.
a great anecdotal story for this is, when the movie Titanic came out, my older sister, was one of the people obsessed with the movie Titanic, and she wanted to go see it all the time. We saw that movie in the theaters 4 times,
Uh-huh.
Titanic.
Yeah.
And I was into it too. I don't want to lay it just on my older sister. Like, I enjoyed the movie a lot. I was excited to go with her to see the movie, and I was in on it. And part of it was also just like, she's my big sister, and I wanted her to like me, so I was liking the things that she was liking. And I remember I have this very distinct memory of, like, for Christmas later that year, my mom bought me, my sister, and maybe even my little sister as well, Titanic puzzles. It was like
Uh-huh.
just a puzzle with the scene from Titanic in it. And my sister and I could not have given a shit about that. Like, we just didn't care. And I just remember, I will never forget my mom saying, "Oh, I guess we're done with that." Um, and it feels like the world has just kind of been Titanicked out a little bit.
Uh-huh.
That just like, occasionally, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, I've heard this one's good. Maybe we'll check it out." But like the collective giving a shit and the collective excitement around this stuff just feels like it has never been lower.
Yeah. It's just yeah, I think you're right. I mean, to tell a, somewhat funny story about myself in reference to that is just like, I was the biggest Breaking Bad fan in the world, and it took me like 10 years to bother to get around to watching El Camino, and I still haven't watched Better Call Saul.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that, on the one hand, you could very reasonably say, like, that's crazy. What are you doing? You're basically just like leaving you're equivalently just like leaving a pile of money on the ground in terms of like how much joy this will doubtless give you. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm just just not that interested anymore, I guess. and it's like, yeah, I mean, you have to actually have people engaged by the story and the characters and give them a feeling that we're driving towards something. I think a TV show is not a bad comparison here, because it's like, yeah, I was into Breaking Bad and then Breaking Bad ended, and I don't really care about Saul Goodman. I'm sure that if I watched like 2 episodes of that show, I would, right? That's how shows work.
Yeah.
But I don't currently. and so I don't feel compelled to go watch it. And I think that's basically what the MCU became. The MCU became a TV show that we were all watching. It was just a TV show that was composed of movies. And then when the big show finale happened, we were like, okay, cool, good. It's a good show.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm out.
I agree. And I think that explains things like the disappointing box office of Thunderbolts, which, by the way, only made like $300 million. It did not do well at all. The disappointing box office of a thing like Fantastic Four, totally. Captain America, yes. I wonder why things like Superman being a little bit disappointing. Or I think, by the way, I think Superman did enough. Like, I think it did enough that DC is not going up. We got to scrap this whole thing. But like, I think one good example is Mission Impossible. So the last Mission Impossible movie came out this year, and it did 600 million. But again, they spent $300 million on this movie, something insane. It was a little disappointing for them, to the point where like, this franchise is probably just done for the time being. And stuff like that, and stuff like Snow White, and I don't know, just things are not breaking out outside of just the comic book movie. With exceptions. I think the Minecraft movie was a big exception to that this year, and then I think the Super Mario movie last year or the year before, I don't remember when, but like, what does and doesn't break out, I think, is very interesting. And kind of the why of it is something that I don't think anyone has a clear answer to, because if they had an answer, they would adjust for it. And nobody really knows what to do. Because it's like, if you look at Disney, if you look at their, like, this year, they had Lilo and Stitch and they had Snow White, and they spent hundreds of $1 million on both these movies. One bombed, nothing, 87 million. The other, 423 million. And it's just like, so should we stop making these live action remakes? No, because sometimes they blow up. So yeah, there's no easy answers here. It just seems like, I don't know how movie theaters kind of continue to exist in their current state. Like, I look at the big companies like AMC and Cinemark and Regal, and I'm like, how are y'all in business?
Yeah.
And like, it's so funny because like, I was listening to an interview with the CEO of AMC the other week, and they're like, yeah, well, one of the things we started is, we have like discounted movies on Tuesday. We're doing that on Wednesday now too. And it's just like, oh, y'all are fucked.
Yeah.
If that's all you've got.
Yeah.
you're screwed.
Yeah, I guess I don't have a sense of how close to the how close to the red they operate. I mean, those are some big buildings they've got to maintain and air condition and so forth. And if 9 people are coming to see the movies most of the time, then yeah, I think it's.
Do you know what the average occupancy rate for a theater in the United States is?
Well, I guess I would nitpick and say like it depends on how you frame that question, but just tell me.
just averaging out how full theaters are,
like per show or whatever. I guess.
Yeah.
I would say like 10 people.
It's 15%.
Okay.
It's theaters on a movie theater on average has 15% occupancy.
Yeah, I mean that seems about right to me because every time I go see a movie, there's nobody in the theater. Yeah. So I was literally just reporting like I don't know, most of the time nobody's in the theater. So
yeah,
that's average.
So they subsist almost entirely off of like Friday night and Saturday, right? Like that is when they hit occupancy of like 80, 90, 100%. And the rest of the time there's these buildings are basically empty. It's just wild that like this is one thing that the CEO brought up. Like any other business, that would be disastrous. Like think of American Airlines if they had 15% occupancy on their planes. That would be a disaster. That company wouldn't exist anymore. So it's just like the model is like chugging along and surviving, and they have like to give these theaters credits, they have done more than just discount Wednesdays. They're subsisting almost entirely off of concessions now, and they're not just like buy popcorn, it costs $20. They've added bars to all their theaters now, so like that is, I mean, like the markup on liquor has always been really high, and so they're making money off of stuff like that. I actually read somewhere that like Gen Alpha, for whatever reason, is way more into movies than the previous generation, movie theaters rather. So maybe like Gen Alpha is gonna like sweep in and save us all.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've been listening to you, but I've been simultaneously doing a little bit of Googling because there's definitely a distinction to be made between theaters and movies. And I say that because I was just curious about Thunderbolts. You said it didn't do very well, and but basically it made twice its budget, which is like the barely breaking even rule of thumb for Hollywood.
You have to count. They never count marketing expense in that budget. Yeah.
But here's the thing though. I was trying to get some numbers on this, but they don't release numbers. But what you can get is just like how they charted on the downloading services. And apparently Thunderbolts was in the top 10 for several weeks after launch. It was number 1 for the first week, number 3 for like the second and third weeks that it was released. Similar results for like Vudu, Fandango, other apps where I mean basically I'm trying to give you an overview of like how it performed on VOD, and this is the data that I have access to. So basically it was the number 1 to number 3 for like several weeks, and then it stayed in the top 10 for several more weeks. So that's got to be an enormous amount of money that's coming to, Disney Marvel, not to the theaters. Obviously, the theaters are still having exactly the same problem, but it makes it very hard for us to say, oh, Thunderbolts was a flop. It didn't do very well. It's really just like, again, I don't know what the numbers are, but it kind of seems like Thunderbolts is a movie that a ton of people saw. They just didn't go to the theater.
Yeah.
I mean, that's me. Like, I didn't go to the theater to see Thunderbolts. I saw it on VOD. I paid to see it on VOD because I wanted to see it, and it was like, I don't want to wait any longer. I've waited long enough. I want to see it now.
Yeah, I'm a little suspicious of some of those numbers, but I generally agree with that. I think one of the things that the data definitely shows is that movies that premiere in theaters do better on VOD than movies that just go straight to VOD. So like there is an effect of a movie being in a movie theater that will kind of pump up its numbers in streaming. Of course, Netflix completely disagrees with that, but they're like the only one. So, but like, I mean, like, yeah, but to me, like, I get that, but to me, like, movie theaters are a core part of the movie experience, and the idea that, okay, the industry is going to be fine, it's just movie theaters aren't going to exist anymore, is to me a tragedy, an
Sure.
absolute tragedy.
I really just wanted to make this distinction of what are we worried about exactly, because I'm personally not that worried that like Marvel is going to stop making movies, but I am worried that the cinematic theater going experience is going to, I don't think it's going to like end. I think it's just going to get worse and worse because they're going to do cost cutting. They're going to do all kinds of enshittification practices that are well known when you have a business where the revenue is going down, and it's just going to get to be a really crappy experience. I mean, some
Yeah.
of them are going to shut down. Obviously, there are going to be more marginal ones that shut down. I would suspect that like us both living in major cities will always have a movie theater we can go to, but maybe some of the nearer ones might eventually shut down. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't respond to what you said about Gen Alpha. I just kind of made a grunting noise. Can you say anything more about that? That's kind of an interesting
Well, so this is
wrinkle.
coming from a podcast I listened to this week, so none of this is has been researched at all by me. But apparently, there was this big study done of theater going habits and enjoyment of theaters across generations, and Gen Alpha reported like wanting to thinking the theatrical experience was an important part of movies and wanting to go to the movie theaters like at a level that was considerably higher than millennials, than Gen Z, than Gen X, um, just very much higher. And one thing the podcast brought up is that we don't want to overreact to data like this because it's also just generally true that like younger people are more into movie theaters than older people, and so perhaps Gen Alpha will just age out of it as they grow into adulthood and just be like just like theaters at the same numbers as any of the other generations. But it is kind of interesting and exciting that they seem to place a more specific um, enjoyment on the event of like going to a movie theater. I think that generation. I don't want to paint with too broad a brush here, but I think that generation is just like much more analog than the ones that came before it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the pendulum is swinging back the other way a little bit, and so having more like non-digital social experiences and going places and events and getting out of the house and doing things for that generation just feels like it's has a much higher premium than it does for Z and us and things like that.
That's interesting. I mean, when we were young, we definitely. I was going to say we definitely like to get out of the house to go see the movies, but that's actually just because we were incredibly bored in the house. It's not like we were like, I needed an excuse to get out of the house. It was actually just like I'm desperate for some kind of stimulation, and I can't doom scroll on my phone for 9 hours because that hasn't been invented yet. So I have to get out of the house to be entertained. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. My intuition was not that Gen Alpha is not sitting around doom scrolling. Let me correct that sentence. Gen Alpha is definitely sitting around doom scrolling just the same way as anyone else. So I don't quite. I mean, I definitely wish and hope that that's not true. That actually they have all collectively realized that their parents are losers for sitting around on their phones, second screening something on the TV. But I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if I've observed that. Of course, my kids are Gen Z. I'm pretty sure. Actually, what generation are my kids?
I don't actually know where Alpha, like generation. I think my kids are Alpha. 2010 and 2014.
Yeah,
so these
kids,
are fucking like preteens. Yeah, of course they love going to the movies.
My kids are Gen Alpha. Yeah, okay. Interesting. Okay.
Sometimes called Generation Glass or iPad kids.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll love that.
Well, here's a funny thing for you is like whenever one of my kids is using the iPad, the other ones will be like, "You're such an iPad kid," and they'll be like, "No, I'm not." Um, so they view it as a slur, which they use against each other, which is kind of funny.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah, so I we didn't solve anything. I'm just worried. I'm worried. I
it's
want
a
movie
topic.
theaters to. I mean, the biggest thing I'm worried about. Obviously, I'm not worried about comic book movies, right? Like, you're absolutely right that they are going to keep making comic book movies as long as they make a single solitary dollar. They will continue to make them. Um, I'm worried about the smaller movies that I feel like could in this collapse like disappear. A lot of them.
Yeah. I guess I don't know. I feel this is something I was going to say a second ago. I didn't say it because I felt so non-confident in it. But hey, we're just talking. I feel like the thing about going to the movie theaters when I was a teenager is like I've said this when talking to you before is like me and my friends or maybe a girlfriend would just be like, we're gonna want to go to the movies. Want to go to the movies Friday night? And that was it. It wasn't, do you want to go see a particular movie? Because it
Sure.
didn't matter. You would literally go to the movie theater and look at the movies and be like, well, there's 4 movies on this list that are things that sound good. Which one do you want to see? That one? I kind of wanted to see that one, but sure, let's go. And there was just so many. There were just so many movies, and there were so many showings that you could just show up and be like, "Oh, it's 7:00. There's a 7:10 for that one." So I guess let's just stand in this incredibly long line because everyone in the whole city is at the movies and get a ticket for the 7:10 showing, and we'll just knock it out. And now it's like none of that is true. There are
Yeah,
no
nobody's done that in 15 years. Like
yeah,
that's insane. The things
but
you're saying right now are crazy talk.
but it's because there are no movies in the movie theater and there are no showings. Like if you were to show up at the movie theater, you would say, okay, there's three movies total being shown at this theater. I don't want to see any of them. Or you would say, I want to see one of them, but the next showing is in 90 minutes. And it's like, yeah, of course I'm not just going to go to the movie theater. You, the movie theater, have made that impossible. That it's their fault. They need to get their shit together, Scott.
Well, it's like it's they didn't just wake up one morning and say, I don't think we're going to show any movies in our movie theater anymore.
I think they did. I think they did just wake up one morning.
Do you think American Airlines going to run a plane that's 15% full 6 days a week? No, they're going to cancel that flight because nobody wants to do it. So slowly over time, that's what they've done. It's just like,
but okay, you're not. Of course you're right, but you understand my point. Is that like it's like you have an engine and the engine has it was running and then it died and it's not running and then you're like, why isn't the car moving? It's like, because the engine's not running. It's not mysterious. And if you can't restart the engine, then yeah, the car's not going to move. I understand maybe they can't restart the engine. Maybe they literally can't. I don't know. I don't know that they've tried. I don't know that I'm convinced that they've tried to do it.
I don't think I fully understand. Your argument here is that like there just aren't enough movies.
I mean, okay, so I don't actually think it's that there aren't enough movies because I think more movies are being made than there ever have been. I think it's that the movie theaters aren't showing them for some reason, and the some reason is something they can't afford to have that many screens open or something.
Well, nobody like it costs money to rent the movie from the theater.
Well, something like that then. But like the movies exist, so it's just the theaters aren't showing them.
No, because nobody's seeing them.
But it's a chicken and egg. If I can't go see them at the movie theater, then I can't pay you money to watch them at the movie theater.
Yeah, but no, like the reason you went to a movie theater and just like walked up to the thing and said what's showing and when is because the only way to find out what was playing at the movie theater was to read it in a newspaper or call the movie phone guy. Now you can pick the computer out of your pocket and know when every movie starts in every theater within 100 miles of you at any time you want.
Okay, but I don't see how that makes that should make it even easier for them, because it should just be a matter of like, I should never have any trouble finding a showing of a movie that I want to see that is currently a new movie. And I routinely, unless it's literally like Superman, like a top movie, like if it's some Pixar movie or whatever, it's going to be in theaters for like 3 weeks and then it's going to be gone, and I'm going to miss it. And that didn't used to be true, right? It used to be there would be a lot of different movies in the theater, and you could pick from the menu of what you wanted to see, and that made it a better experience.
Yeah.
Like
I agree this is chicken and egg, but it's like the reason why that doesn't exist anymore is because nobody was seeing those movies in the theater. Like the reason why there are 47 showings of Superman and only 2 other movies playing at the same time is because when Superman is out, all the people want to see a Superman.
So let's drill down on this, because I mean that's actually an interesting and I think instructive observation. Is like, is it true? And I'm asking this, I don't actually know. Like, is it true that the reason why there's not really an equivalent to Rain Man in the theater right now is because several 2 decades of tentpole style filmmaking and marketing routinely sucked all of the oxygen out of the room, to the point where at any given moment everybody is just going to go see the tentpole movie, meaning nobody's going to go see the Rain Man equivalent, meaning we stop making Rain Man equivalents, and now nobody goes to see them because they aren't in the theater, right? So the first causal insult here was they changed the style of movie that they were making and how they were marketing, and that, I'm going to use the metaphor again, it sucked up all the oxygen, it sucked up all the eyeballs. Everybody wanted to just see that movie. None of the other movies could make money. The theaters made a rational economic decision to not show those movies, but now you have a situation where the menu is impoverished. So look, you're making a totally correct economic and practical argument. I'm literally just saying like that. I think something like this is what happened, and if you want it to not be the case, you kind of have to solve that problem somehow. Like, you have to actually make the menu more compelling. I don't know how you do it, but it's got to be solvable.
I think that's something they're trying to do, and I think another key measure in this equation, or this metaphor you've built, is the idea that the studios have been releasing Rain Mans every year for the past 20 years, and those movies continue to underperform at the theater. And so it's like, how long can you expect a studio to just pump out those same kind of movies and see it not, and spend the marketing spend on it and see it not get the returns on it, where you're like, it doesn't make sense to make these movies anymore. It's not economically feasible for us to make these movies anymore. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so, and is that because of choices that they made? I think you're right. I think absolutely, like, blockbuster filmmaking became a thing in the 70s, but throughout the 90s and the explosion of the multiplexes, like, they leaned in really hard into this thing, and they just kept leaning in. And when the economies of movies started to change, when, I mean, one thing we haven't mentioned, part of this is the rise of good televisions, but part of it is also the rise of good television, cinematic television, like shows like peak TV, like shows that replicate some of what you could only get in a movie, now available in TV form. They continue to lean into this thing, though. They just leaned more and more into it, and you can't blame them. Like, when the MCU starts and it's just making all the money, it's like, of course everyone's like, oh, look at them over there, they're making all the money, let's do that. And you just keep leaning and leaning and leaning and leaning, and then suddenly you look back, those movies start making less money, and so suddenly you're taking a critical eye to the industry, and one of the first things you notice is, we don't release as many movies anymore. And like, the middle budget film is gone. Like, there still exists, like, independent films, like low budget independent films still exist, and of course the big movies still exist, but like the middle budget movie, like the 30 mil, 50 mil, Like those movies, they're so few and far between now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I want, somebody out there lend me like just $50 million, okay? And I am going to start a movie theater, and I'm just going to show the middle budget movies. I'm not going to show any Marvel. I'm not going to show anything that you would recognize or see an ad for. And we'll just see what happens. Remember, you and I went to see a rep screening of Roadhouse the other day, and there were more people in that theater than there have been in the last 9 actual movies that I have gone to see in the normal theaters.
Okay. But tell people how many people were in that theater. Like you say that and it sounds like, oh, whoa, that's really impressive. There were like 8 people in that theater.
I mean, I feel like it was like 20 people, but
no,
I don't
it was
actually.
Not 20 people. No.
I don't. You know what? We'll have to ask Michael. Scott. But the point is, I mean, it was almost like full. It was just a really small room.
I don't think it was full.
It was. But it was half full. Let's say. I'll meet you. I'll meet you in the middle.
Let's also say that this is a theater owned by George R. R. Martin.
Yes.
Probably does not run a profit and is probably just living off of him wanting to keep this theater around.
I mean, you're probably right about that. I think so. The point of me bringing this up though was like the novelty of going to see Roadhouse in an actual theater with other people drew that many people. There's an element of just like novelty that used to be present in going to see the movies where you didn't necessarily know what you were getting, and also it didn't cost $100 to see a movie with you and your kids. So that was also part of the equation is like it was a relatively inexpensive diversion for you and your family on a Friday evening, and now it's like, well, we could go to the movie theater or we could go to an amusement park all day. So
I think the cost of going to an amusement park all day has also risen dramatically, but I take your point.
Yeah. So just in general, like, I mean, it's a very simple, I don't even think we're like really arguing. It's just like the product has gotten worse. The menu of options has gotten worse and the price has increased. And like, if you want the trend to reverse, then you have to change those things. There's no other way. That's my entire thesis.
Yeah. I think it's also interesting that like we don't have to keep talking about this because we talk about this for a fucking hour now, but like the theaters are in this weird situation where like they are not responsible for the product, right? They are buying the product from someone else who is making the product. So they can sit there and scream at the studios and be like, make more cheeseburgers. We need more cheeseburgers. And the studio can go, I don't want to make a cheeseburger. I want to make a chicken sandwich. It's we make more money making chicken sandwiches. And like I think both of these industries exist in this symbiotic relationship, but just as you said, Disney is doing okay still. Thunderbolts sold a decent amount on VOD. So what is a movie studio's like advantage of taking a risk to save the theater industry? Like the theater industry would tell them your movies do better or your movies do make better money across the board if they have a big, large theatrical release. That's the argument they would make. And maybe that's still true right now in September of 2025. But is that going to be true in 2026? Is that going to be true in 2030? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think, by the way, you get $50 million and you start an independent movie theater that only shows middle budget movies. I think you are out of business in a year. That's what I think.
I think I'm a genius, and so I mean, I know we have been talking about this for too long, but like I do. So I just looked this up. In 2024, there were between 400 and 500 movies made in America. And you're going to say, well, those are probably almost all trash. And I'm like, I mean,
Well, yeah, but that's always been true in every year that movies have existed.
Exactly. That's always been true. It's just that I think like the 10 or 15 least trashy movies at the time actually made it into the rotation instead of just like the top 3 or 4 movies at the time. And that really did change the sense of like what it means to go to the movie theater. Like I think, I to relax the joke a bit, like, yeah, okay, maybe I show the Marvel movie on one screen instead of 5 screens, and then I also show some other weird thing that you haven't heard of. And then when you go to my weird eclectic theater, you could go see the Marvel movie if you wanted, but you should probably go to the Cinemark for that one because there's going to be more showings. But at my theater, you can see weird stuff that you're not going to see elsewhere. And that used to be the value prop. Like, it's not even an exotic, crazy thing I'm saying. That used to be the actual reason you go to the theater. So
yeah. No,
anyway.
I 100% agree. And I wish we lived in a world in which I am confident that business model would just destroy. I don't think we live in that world anymore. I mean, part of this is like there used to be like counter programming to these movies to the point where like you show up at the movie theater, you want to see Superman. Superman's sold out. What are we going to do? Oh, let's look up at the big board. Oh, we got this movie starting in 5 minutes. Let's go.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
We're planning on seeing that, but I like that poster. Let's go.
Yeah.
Now you buy your ticket beforehand, so you know if the movie's sold out or not. Like, if I'm like, let's go see Superman tonight, I pull up my phone, I boot up the app, and see that there's only 2 seats left in this showing of Superman, and they both suck. Then I go, we'll go tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. There's a lot of factors. I don't want to sound like I have figured out the 2 things that matter, and therefore that's all that matters. Yes, there's many factors.
It's incredibly complex.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot of confidence that like I'm just trying to imagine what it's going to look like in 20 years. I mean, all these multiplexes are going to shut down. Like, I think, I don't know if AMC goes bankrupt, but I think they basically retooled to become unrecognizable versus their like 90s counterpart.
Yeah, see, I've never really looked into like, what is their public P&L. I presumably they're a publicly traded company. They have to release these things.
Yes.
I have never looked into it, so I don't know how close they are to death. You'd probably figure it out if you dug into that, right?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was AMC or if it was Cinemark. Do you remember like the GameStop? I forget what it was called, like the Wall Street bets, like GameStop nonsense.
Yeah,
that happened.
Yeah.
Well, they tried to do one of those with one of the big theaters with either Cinemark or AMC. I think it was Cinemark. They tried to artificially inflate the stock, and do all that nonsense. And essentially what happened is Cinemark saw that the stock price like jumped up absurdly, like very quickly and shrewdly converted a lot of their liability, like used the money to convert their debt. And they managed to just like clear out a large amount of their debt to the point where like, if that had not happened, Cinemark might have already declared bankruptcy today. But they got to dump so much of their debt in this stupid stock manipulation scheme that they weren't even really a part of. They just saw it and benefited from it.
That's great. Let's do that a few more times.
So yeah, I mean, I think if you asked AMC, they'd say we're chugging along, we're doing okay. But I think it's probably really stressful to be working for those companies right now.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at their Q2. I'm looking at AMC's Q2 quarterly report, which is definitely the thing that I want to be doing while recording a Doofcast. So anyway, let's move on.
Let's move on. I said the word symbiote at some time during a symbiotic relationship between movies and theaters, and that's the perfect transition to talk about our final topic for the evening, which is episode 6 of Alien Earth, titled "The Fly." Everyone knows, Matt, that the best episodes of television shows are called "The Fly."
That's right. I feel like that was intentional on their part.
Probably. All right, Matt. What happens in episode 6 of Alien Earth, and what did you think of it?
What happens is a lot of the puzzle, the chess pieces that we have put on the board have begun their inexorable movement toward a bloody finale. And I loved it. This is like what this show, this was the promise of the show all along. And this whole episode, I think the previous episode on, which was basically a sort of, Noel Hawley's Alien movie, as he calls it. This episode to me is what makes this show unique and fun and different, where you have all of these different characters with their own agendas and philosophical positions and backgrounds, backstories, motivations, making terrible decisions, but all understandable decisions that lead us to people getting squirted in the face by acid bugs and face hugged, and it's great. It's a fantastic episode. I love this episode. This might be my favorite episode so far, even including the previous episode. What did you think?
I really enjoyed this. I am having so much fun with this show. I'm just like, every minute of it is great and exactly what I wanted. I think one thing I did want to talk to you about was one of the big critiques I saw of episode 5 that we talked about last week was that everyone in this universe is like the dumbest person ever. Like that, like a professionally trained scientist dealing with biological specimens is also eating a sandwich and drinking water in the same room as they're like these people are stupid. And like, I think that remains true in this episode, that all these people are like really, really dumb. But I think the argument here is that some of them are just actual children. So that's understandable. But like, first of all, I just think that's always been true in the Alien universe, that like these people behave extraordinarily dumb. And it, second of all, it just doesn't really bother me at all. Like I completely understand someone being bothered by it. I completely understand someone looking at even this episode and being like, would someone really do that? Like, really?
Yeah. So my comment,
but it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I think so. My comment on this has been, it's been pretty consistent in all of the Alien movies that like deep space is for the poor and the desperate.
Yeah. I mean, the best scientist in the world is not going to hop on a ship for 65 years. Yeah.
Exactly. So the all of the people on that ship are in a really terrible place in their life, and definitely they are not the cream of the crop. That's why they're in this situation. The same was true of the crew of the Nostromo. The same was even true of the Colonial Marines. That these are just not. These are people who they're trying to like earn their way out of slavery, essentially, and that was always the implication. And so that doesn't bother me. And then so there's sort of two sides to this, where the people on the actual ship being dumb, it's like, I mean, they literally are like they're literally unqualified. Like the kid who was on the ship to be like the apprentice or whatever of the engineer, like he was just obviously a terrible fit for this role. Like he was never going to grow up to be a competent chief engineer of a starship, right? Like it's just like, they're not doing this competently. And then when it comes to the lab itself, like that's actually a different story, where it's more about arrogance and greed and lack of patience, short-sightedness. People point out, like Boy Cavalier, he invented these synths, or paid people to invent these synths, and then a new shiny thing comes along and he's like lost interest in them immediately. And it's like, it's it is saying something about his character, but it's not just like, oh, it's bad writing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I mean, everything that's happening on the island, like, to me, seems intentionally designed that way on purpose. Like you said, like, is it absurd that a company's like multi-trillion-dollar experiment would have no one would notice if one of them died?
Mm-hmm.
Is that crazy and absurd? Yeah, but like, I think that's the point. I think the point of this is that Boy Cavalier is pretty cavalier about a lot of the stuff, and everything is very loose. Like there's like two people that work here, and a robot, and then there's all the children that are just running around. No one's really making sure they're doing things except for Timothy Oliphant's character, who is just kind of like second screening, like everything go to shit for whatever nefarious purposes he has. But like, I think this is absolutely all part of it. That like this arrogance, this overconfidence in we understand what this is and how to control it and how to contain it. Both with the aliens and with the things that they themselves have created with these hybrids. And that's just like the point, man. And I love it. I really do.
Yeah. You're exactly right. None of that bothers me, and I'm actually like wish we didn't have to talk about this, because I just purely enjoy the episode, and then I kind of, I like to participate in online conversations of things because I'm an online person. Mm-hmm. And then I go to the places where those conversations are happening and people are like, it's poorly written. People will be like, can you believe that they wouldn't have a team of people watching the security cameras at all times? And I'm like,
yeah,
of course I can. Like, what are you talking about? like,
have you seen these people?
like people don't even have that in real life, much less in this setting, which is supposed to be comically arrogant, right? So I'm just like, I have also been inundated by the internet's opinions on this show and been very annoyed by it, because I'm like, wow, you are not paying attention to the right things. Like you have allowed this CinemaSin style of watching media to ruin your ability to enjoy things, because it's such an enjoyable show.
I was listening to a podcast like kind of right before we started recording, and one of the things I saw in there was a complaint someone said is like, how does Wendy know that what's her said she was pregnant? Because she only told that to the boss lady, and then they immediately put her under sleep. It just doesn't make sense how it. And I'm like, is that really what we're doing? Like, is that like
you can't imagine?
Is that our gauge for good writing now? That like it's completely unbelievable that at some point in this whole process that news got out to the 15 gossipy children that exist on this place. Like, right. I just like, we're focusing on the wrong things here, people.
Yeah. It's weird. It's very weird, because I do see a lot of people talking about the show from the perspective of like, what can I find to dislike, which surprises me, because I mean, it doesn't totally surprise me, because I definitely, like, when I sat down to watch the first episode, I was like, this is probably gonna suck.
Yeah.
And then it just blew me away, and then it's just continued to do so. I mean, there's probably been a few like moments here and there where I was like, I felt like maybe it was a little wobbly, but certainly nothing that made me like, turn against the show.
I have some moments of that. I also, like, as much as I liked episode 5, I did feel like its place in the narrative of the show a little weird, where like we got back with episode 6 and I have to like remember where we left off and kind of emotionally and mentally catch myself back up. And I thought that was a little not great. But like, I mean, overall, like I'm just vibing so much with what the show is doing, both on the intellectual philosophical side of things, and then also on just like the scary, creepy, disturbing, gory shit. Like,
right.
I'm loving both sides of this. I'm loving this idea that we can have this talk about who and what is Wendy. Is she still the sister that he's trying to save, or has she become something else? What does that even mean? Like as he's like sitting there watching her like communicate with the xenomorph, just wonderful shit. And at the same time, the flies like spitting acid on on synth faces and then eating them, all while creepy eye sheep like observes from a distance. Just like every part of it is like, yeah. Love this.
Yeah, I agree. The idea that Wendy like empathizes with the xenomorph and is like, yeah, this is this is an alien creature that was created in this unusual way, and she identifies with it because it's like, well, that's kind of me, right? That's kind of I'm kind of like this thing, and this thing is kind of like me, and it's just trying to live its life. Like, who are we to treat it this way? I'm really,
Yeah.
I'm excited that I don't really know what choices she is going to make as we go through the rest of this show, because we see her brother from Andor is in this fantasy, which kind of I feel like fits nicely in like the Peter Pan metaphor, where he's like, no, we're all gonna go back to being kids together, and I'm gonna save you, Wendy, and escape the island, which is just not gonna work. Like, it's just not. And she like, for her part, like she's just as likely to just like open the xenomorph's cage on purpose as she is to do anything. So we will see.
We will see. I mean, Boy Cavalier's continued reading of Peter Pan and how we're supposed to feel about the choices of which things we're reading and which things we aren't. Like, in this episode, it was the story of how Wendy realized she was going to have to grow up, and just like trying to read into what we're doing there with the ultimate arc of this character is frankly just so fucking delightful that I just like, I am vibing with the show on every single level. It's so good.
People will be disappointed if we don't talk about the eye, which is everyone's favorite part, including mine.
It's the best. Like, once again, just the fact that my favorite alien in an alien movie or show is not the alien is crazy.
Yeah. Well, and also just the fact that the form that this animal has taken for the last 2 entire episodes has just been a sheep.
Evil sheep.
An evil sheep. Which I'll point out, sheep don't stare at you head on. They stare at you from the side because they're herbivores, prey animals. So
that's where their eyes are. Yeah.
Right. So the idea of a sheep just like staring balefully directly at you head on is unnerving naturally anyway. And so that's like adding to the discomfort of having the sheep staring at you. But I just there's something so, I think we talked before about the fact that like the xenomorph is kind of not scary anymore. I think the show kind of knows that
it's so thoroughly how, like, there's only so many times you can see a face hugger jump on some guy's face, and a xenomorph do like second mouth and stab into someone's brain, where you're just like, yeah, I've been there, done that.
Right.
Like, even the face hugger scene in this episode, like, it was not disturbed and uncomfortable. I was just sad for the character because I was like, oh, bummer.
Right.
So yeah, like, xenomorphs don't scare us anymore. I think you're just right there.
The one thing about that scene, I'll just say, is like it felt more like the facehugger sequence in Aliens than any other facehugger sequence in any other movie that we've been subjected to, because you had
Burke
the element of
locked him in there,
locked in with it, and then hearing the skittering sounds around the room, never quite knowing what direction it's going to come from. That was effective. Like you said, it's not scary, but it's like, oh, it's gonna get him. Like you're leaning forward and getting tense, not because you're scared. You're almost like, anticipatory. But the sheep, though, it's just like unnerving because it's just staring. It's just staring, and it's waiting, and it's staring and waiting. My theory is that the eye symbolizes the audience because it's watching and waiting for something horrible to happen, hoping something horrible happens, hoping that these humans get torn apart. I feel like we're meant to identify with the eye.
If all that happens at the end of this show is that the eye sheep walks out of its containment and just like into the wilderness, and that's it, I will be here for it.
Yeah. It could go so many different directions.
Yeah.
There are so many different people whose eye it would be interesting to see that thing crawl into.
Never have I seen an eye look hungrier to be someone's eye.
You're right. It's amazing how much character they're able to invest in, like the the movements of its little sub-pupil elements, uh,
It's so good. It's so good.
yeah. It's just the probably my favorite moment of the episode is it's like patient watching of this slow motion disaster unfold as the kid goes into the chamber that he really shouldn't go into, and then waiting for just the exact right second when he's off balance, very sharply and abruptly headbutting the glass so that he stumbles, and then the door closes, and it's like, yeah, like that's all I had to do. Just had to make a little noise,
Mm-hmm.
and now that guy's dead.
Yeah.
It's great.
So Kirsch is obviously like sitting here watching all of this, right?
Yeah.
So again, we have our character of Morrow, who's only in this episode a little bit, as he kind of finally pushes his man on the inside to pull a total Burke.
Mm-hmm.
Although, like, I don't know, man. I don't think I'd climb into an event with a xenomorphed body. I think that made me too nervous. I don't think I'd do it. But it saved him from the evil flies, so I guess that's good.
Yeah. It's interesting that I have very complex feelings about that character, because obviously,
His Slightly is his name, right?
Slightly. Because like, it goes without saying that, it's monstrous what he just did in this episode, but like,
yeah,
he's a kid.
He's a child.
He's a little child who's being horribly, horribly manipulated by this awful guy. And I don't know, that all worked on me really well.
Yeah, I liked it. I don't know what Kirsch is doing, and this is not a critique. I like it. I like, is Kirsch like working for another company, or is Kirsch, what I think is Kirsch is just working for himself. Like, he is his own kind of enjoyment. I think he looks down on, like, I think he looks at Boy Cavalier and he looks at this guy as like, you are inferior to me. Actually, I am superior to you in every way. And so he's just completely fine, just like watching this stuff burn to the ground. But like, you could also make the argument that he's actively inciting it as well. Like, the idea of putting Toodles in charge of feeding the animals is like, I don't think he necessarily knew exactly what was going to happen, but I don't think he'd be surprised at the result either. Like, this kid doesn't know protocol with any of this stuff. He's a kid. Right. He's not ready for this.
Yeah, I my read on him is frankly just directly influenced by David, the android from Prometheus slash Covenant, where it's like, this seems my feeling is that this is what they're going for, is this kind of a riff on the David archetype, where it's like he just wants to see what'll happen. It's like it's the same thing where David put the black goo in the one guy's drink in that movie, where it's like, it's kind of because he didn't like that guy, but it's also just because he's like, I wonder what this will do to a person.
Yeah.
I'm going to test it on this guy because I can get away with it. And that's kind of like, Kirsch just strikes me as like, this is so cool. I kind of want to see what they'll do.
Yeah, it does strike me that like there are two different versions of androids in the Alien universe. There's the David kind that is kind of just operating for himself, and then there's the Ash kind who is operating entirely on company orders and is not going to have that contains none of the humanity that says, no, that's bad, we shouldn't do that. I agree, Kirsch seems more David than he does Ash, but I mean, we'll see.
And then there's the one outlier Bishop. Well, actually, shouldn't say that, because then we have the character in Romulus, which I actually thought was really fun. But
oh yeah, I love that character. I guess the last thing I'll say is, it continues to surprise me how much I am enjoying this as a person who did not like Prometheus nor Covenant. Because I think a lot of people that are into this, that I'm seeing that are super into this, are like super big Prometheus and Covenant enjoyers. And I mean, if we're being honest, it shares a similarity in goals with those two films, probably closer than like what Aliens is doing ultimately.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
I
just
mean,
think it's doing it like it's a good version of it. Like I actually came up with a joke when I was thinking about this earlier today, where I was going to start the whole episode with, um, Alien Earth is like raised by wolves if it was good.
thanks.
But I
Yeah.
decided I decided not to do that for you. Although I guess I just technically have.
I'll kill you for that. Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, the version of that joking I can get on board with is that this is Prometheus if it was good, or
Mhm.
Prometheus plus Covenant if you view those as two parts of the same story. Where it's a lot tighter. It's a lot less like self serious. I think that's maybe one thing that really works for me is the show is not afraid to have fun and be creative and exploratory in a way that feels that like it's not ashamed to enjoy itself.
Mhm.
It's not trying to be like horrible in a like repellent, upsetting way. It's trying to be horrible in a sort of like, oh yeah, that's gross. Like the eye is a perfect example where it's like a fun monster,
Mhm.
it's scary. If it was in the room with me right now, I wouldn't be having fun. It's conceptually fun. Like the execution of it is fun. It's hard for me to articulate what I mean by this. I don't even know if, I mean, do you agree? Do you even
Yes.
yeah, okay.
No, yeah. I mean, like, I think it's scary in a very specific type of way that I am enjoying it. Like, a lot of people, I don't know if you said this last week, but a lot of people are calling it like this. The eye is Alien Earth's Baby Yoda, and I find that comparison delightful because it does actually totally capture like what I find so intriguing about the character.
Yeah.
Um, that you both like really like it and are also, I mean, this, I was not terrified of Baby Yoda, but like, like it's the mascot of the show in a lot
Yeah.
of ways. Um,
Totally.
and so yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm just really digging it. I'm just really digging all of it. I don't even care how it ends. Like I don't know if this is a show that is planning on ending in the end at the end of these 10 episodes, or is like season 2 is going to be announced any day now. Like I don't know, and I don't care. I'm just like along for whatever they do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Me too.
I can't believe there's as many xenomorphs in this. Actually, like I thought they were gonna try to avoid that as much as possible. Seems it's very prestige TV to not bring the xenomorph in until the end of season 1 or something like that.
Yeah. I agree. It's interesting. Like I said a bit ago, it's like they know that the xenomorph is overexposed, so they're just using it as kind of a more mundane plot element. I think it's literally just like, what's the point of treating this as a mysterious thing anymore? It
Hmm.
really simply isn't. So let's just treat it as a plot element and put it in a cage. Like I think it's actually somewhat daring in a sense to put the xenomorph in a cage like that defangs it in a way that
Yeah,
removes the sense of like, oh, this isn't a noble cosmic horror. It's like, well, you have it in a cage, you're just staring at it as it moves around in a cage, which is a very sort of weak position to put your franchise defining monster in. But it's
yeah,
like, yeah, that's almost like on a metaphorical level. It's like, well, that's where we are with this franchise. Okay, we
yeah.
didn't defang the xenomorph. You guys did when you made Aliens versus Predator 3. Okay, this is just what makes sense now.
Yeah. No, I'm in agreement there. It makes perfect sense. I'm totally fine with how they're depicting it, and I continue to laugh that the life cycle of these things is so up in the air. Like, I guess by the end of this episode, the xenomorph that we see kind of observing shit going down is the baby one that she was talking to at the beginning of the episode, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It's
I mean,
just these things grow so fucking
yeah.
fast, and I mean, like the best never ending alien joke will be that the gestation period for the alien inside someone's chest is always exactly as long as the plot needs it to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like
Right.
the one that's inside this doctor now, Presumably the plan there is this is how they're going to get the xenomorph out, right? He's just going to take this guy out. They cause
Um,
chaos in the place, and they're just going to sneak this guy out.
that makes more sense than like wait for it to hatch and then catch it somehow. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's.
So I'm presumably this alien will stay in his chest right up until the plot needs it to not be in there anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It'll well, yeah. I mean, what always happens though is it begins to erupt at the least convenient time for the characters in the scene. So
right, the most convenient time for the plot, the least convenient time for any of the characters in the movie. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I think that was episode 6. So I think there's 10. So I think we got 4 more. Maybe there's only 8. I don't know.
I thought there were 8, but
let's
I'm
check.
I'm repeatedly wrong about this. So
there are only 8.
Yeah,
so there's only 2 more.
Yeah. All right.
So that is, gosh, we went long on this one.
We did. We still got another thing to talk about.
We still got another thing. So let's talk about this last thing fast. So Matt, this next thing is kind of our plan for what we're doing after for our next like big ongoing series. And one of the ideas I had kind of earlier in the year, and I want to say like we had this idea before anyone else did. We just didn't talk about it, and therefore it's impossible to prove. But it's 2025. We're a quarter of the way through the century now, and I thought it'd be good to do like a 25 in 25, right? Again, I want to say I know big picture listeners that they're doing this right now. I had this idea before them. I can't prove that, but I promise you that I did. So basically we wanted to compile a list of like the best 25 films of the 21st century, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we went back and forth on like, how do we do this? Like we could just privately ourselves sit down and write our list and compare our lists and then talk about our lists on the show. But you kind of had an idea to make something a little bit more fun with that. And that is what we're kind of ready to talk about today.
Yeah. So if you are at a computer or your phone, you can right now go to doofmovies.com, spelled just like it sounds. Doof.
Yeah, all
movies,
one word, no space. Yeah.
No space, no dash or anything like that. And this is a website that I have constructed. And what it lets you do is curate your own list of your favorite movies from 2025, and you can put as many movies as you want on your list. And what happens is, as long as you're signed in, so you have to sign in with your Patreon profile, but you don't actually have to be our patron to sign in. You can make your list as long as you're signed in. But in order for your votes to be counted towards the list that determines what we will cover, you do have to be a paying patron of Doof Media. So, and the way that works, essentially, just a little bit more detail because some people have asked, is essentially you make your own personal list, your own rankings. You can drag and drop the movies. You can add the movies. You can do whatever to make your list. And then, as long as you're a paying patron, then your ranking in a sort of weighted vote fashion will be incorporated into the total votes that are incorporated on the global rankings page. So if you look at the global rankings page, the result that you're seeing is the culmination of all of the accumulated rankings of everyone else who is on the website. So that allows us to look at the global rankings and see what is winning, and then we get to cover the movies that are winning, and then we get to talk about the best movies of 2025. Hopefully, ones that we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah, there might be some that we have.
Sorry, the best movies since 1999. I should say.
Yeah.
I said the wrong thing.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, I mean, I think basically it was decided instead of just making our own lists and talking about those, we could crowdsource it of our listeners and make kind of, when we say the Doof Media list of the best 25 movies of the 21st century, that it is not just the Matt and Scott list, but truly the Doof Media list. It is a mix of your preferences, my preferences, and our community. And I don't know. I think this is really cool. It kind of requires a lot of participation to work, though. So if you are a patron, right, which there are hundreds of you, I know there are. If you're listening to this right now and you are a patron, we would really appreciate it if you participated in this, because it really helps it make more fun. I think it's an enjoyable exercise for y'all, because it just allows you to kind of go in, not only see what the current rankings are, but then build your own rankings off those current rankings, influence those rankings. It gives you ideas also for movies for you to watch that you perhaps haven't watched yet. It's just gonna be good fun. And I haven't quite figured out yet, Matt, how we are gonna approach the let's do episodes off this list yet. Like, at some point we're gonna have to lock it and be like, okay, here's the 25 films.
We might. I'm kind of open-minded. We might lock it. We might just say
or not
well,
lock it, leave it open, but eventually just say we got to start making these episodes on these movies.
I figure, there'll be a point in the next couple weeks or maybe more, who knows. And then we'll say, all right, there's a good number of votes here. There's a clear winner. We'll cover that clear winner. And then we just kind of let things go from there. We, at any given week, whatever is, in the top slot that we haven't yet covered, then that'll be the movie that we cover. And that's how we'll determine. That's how we'll determine. I think that's kind of the default path, I guess. It's pretty simple, but we reserve the right to change our minds a bit on exactly how we use the list. But I think it's still going to be a fun exercise regardless.
Yeah, I would like by the end of the year to get these are the top 25 films of the 21st century. We are a quarter of the way through this century. Here, this represents the top 25 films of that quarter. I would like to get there. So, however much time people need to do that and to participate and to yada yada yada, for sure.
Yeah. And we'll probably be mentioning this again for the next few episodes, because I don't know how many people are going to have listened to this point.
Yes, absolutely. We are going to continue to mention this across all of our platforms. So I hope you don't get bored of it, but please participate.
Yep.
Check it out. doofmovies.com.
Yep.
All right. So what's winning right now? We did a soft launch on our Discord.
Yeah.
So there's only been a handful of participants so far.
So what was winning? So there's I'll give the short answer. Mad Max Fury Road is currently winning.
Okay.
As of this exact second.
It's a fair choice.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would agree that's the best movie, but it's a very good movie.
Well, Scott, you go on there and cast your vote.
Well, here's a problem, Matt. I am not a patron of Doof Media.
If you want to have a say in what movies we talk about, you got to be a patron of Doof Media.
Give money to myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no cheating, Scott.
Okay. Let me just get out the credit card real quick. All right. Anything else you wanted to talk about there?
Nope.
Cool. So that's going to do it for our extra length potpourri episode. Hey, Matt, I figured out what happens when we have a bunch of small topics.
Yeah.
We turn them into big topics.
Yeah, I kind of knew this would happen, but that's okay.
Well,
okay.
I believed in us that we wouldn't let it happen.
No, I knew that we wouldn't be able to talk about Thunderbolts for less than 40 minutes, and we wouldn't be able to talk about Alien Earth for less than 25 minutes. I didn't expect us to talk about the theatrical model for an hour. I'll grant you
fault.
that.
I think that's entirely your fault. I'm not taking any responsibility for that whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, folks. That's going to do it for us this week. If you have any opinions on Thunderbolts, on the death of movie theaters, and Matt's $50 million theater idea that's surely going to be successful, on Alien Earth Episode 6, or just want to talk to us about doofmovies.com and the 25 best films of the 21st century, you can reach out to us via email at doofmedia@gmail.com, over on X at doofmedia, over on Reddit, reddit.com/r/doofmedia, on Instagram at doofmedia, any of those places. Just reach out and talk to us, and we will say hello.
That's right. If you're not already subscribed to the Doofcast, we encourage you to do so and ensure you never miss an episode. You can find those episodes on any of the major podcasting platforms.
And you can always support us over at Patreon. This is a great time because we have this whole new exciting thing for our patrons. So you can head on over to patreon.com/doofmedia and pledge at any level. Any level you're pledging at gives you access to be part of Doof Movies. And so please, if you've been holding on for a moment, waiting for a time, now is the time. Bump Mad Max Fury Road out of the top spot. You know you want to.
I thought you loved that movie, Scott.
I do love that movie. I love that movie. I don't know if I'm confident saying it's the best movie of the past 25 years.
I'll just say that we're lucky that The Matrix came out in 1999 because otherwise we would already know. But anyway, yeah, please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Each review helps us get more exposure and introduces new people to the content that we make here.
All right, folks. Don't know what we're doing next week. We'll figure it out. But until then, doofmovies.com.
That's right.
Dune Part 2 is currently second. That's it's also crazy.
I don't mind it. Don't mind it.
I know, because let's be fair here. Matt has put his thumb on the scale of this list a little bit here.
Well, I've not put it intentionally.
All right, folks. We'll see you next week.
My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say. My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say.